Sunday night, I'd watch the practice with none of my friends. I'd turn the dial to ABC to see the creep of the week that Bobby Donald defends. But I'm out of practice.
With your hosts, Keith Martin.
That's the mood already. You've established the mood. And Mike and Daglio.
Way back in high school, most every night, my mom watched QVC, so I missed the practice. There was no TiVo, what could I do? Wait 15 years, get fat, then stream it on Hulu.
Let's do it.
Out of practice.
Today we are doing a podcast.
Do the words "fake it till you make it" resonate with you? Because they do here.
Hello and welcome to the Out of Practice podcast, a weekly podcast in which me and my co-host Mike fake energy because we're on the air, even though it is a sleepy Saturday afternoon and I wish I were a nap person. But you know what? We have an important duty, a duty between ourselves and you, and that is to talk ad nauseum about ourselves, and then we finally, eventually, will talk about David E. Kelley's award-winning series, The Practice. This week, we are up to Season 6, Episode 15, entitled Premie Unplugged. I don't know what to say about that title, but here we are. We're going to talk about it. How's it going, Mike?
I have strong feelings about the titles that I have no idea how to pronounce or what they mean, but I guess we'll find out. It's going well. You know, I said I was responding to Phoenix Cage on the YouTube about a comment he left about something. I believe it was last episode. We'll talk about it when we get there.
Oh, yes.
But what I said was accurate. It's so nice to have this podcast, our fellowship, Keith, our viewer, our listeners, plural. At least people listen to
plural.
the podcast. Yeah, there are people
I didn't know
who
we were going to be all braggy today. We have plural
I'm just
listeners.
saying, I look forward when the week gets me down or when things are happening. I never rue doing the podcast. It's a lot of work, as it turns out, but I never rue it. I will say I have not been sleeping well. You know what it is? I have a drive coming up tomorrow. Unfortunately, we're going to see my mother-in-law. Jen hasn't seen her mom in over a year. And unfortunately, because of our schedules, we can't stay very long. So we're driving down on Sunday, and we're coming back on Tuesday. And it's a long drive. It's about 8 hours. So when you know that's coming up and you're like, I need to get some sleep to be prepared. And so your body tells, I don't know if you're like this. I believe so. I can't sleep. So I have not been sleeping. So that's why the mood is dour. But I am happy to have our friends, you, our viewer, our listeners, to get me through today, and hopefully a better episode of The Practice this week.
Oh, well, let's find out.
Oh, that is not foreshadowing that I appreciate.
You don't know. It could be anything. Maybe
You're
it's
right.
good.
You're right.
It could be. That's Season 6 is one of those things like, who knows? Who knows what we're going to get?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I'm exactly the same way. If I have a thing to be awake for of any importance at any time. It could be like, oh, you have to be awake you have a 4:00 phone call with the least important phone call in the world. I won't sleep because like, what if I oversleep? It makes no sense whatsoever, but I'm 100% in the same boat.
I also have this project. I don't know why I'm talking about this on the internet. I have this project that I'm behind on that I have to present on the 13th, and it's like staring at me. You know that one? You know that feeling?
Yeah.
Where it's like staring you down? I'm feeling that.
Yeah, I feel that. We sound like we're in college all over again.
It does. But wait, I think we should probably start where that's the future, all right? But we should talk about the here and meow.
The here and meow, and the other reason I'm sleepy today.
We have tried for years to make this podcast a success.
We failed.
It's time to give the world what it wants. Meow, meow. Podcast
So, my good buddy Charlie, who is behind me in the chair there, I wake up at 6 o'clock, just like to get up and get some water or whatever. And I go downstairs and the whole house smells horrible. And I'm like, what the hell? And, we've discussed it before, long-haired cats, sometimes they get poopy butt. And there he is in our cat photo of the week, the legendary, elegant Charlie. So I go down there and it's just like a shit explosion all over the entire house. It's 6 o'clock in the morning. And then as I'm like wandering around the house with Lysol wipes, trying to chase, clean up. Oh, it's horrible. And the cat's like, fuck off. You know how it is. Then I hear at like full human volume, people talking in the basement. And the light is on. Right. And I'm just like, what the holy hell? So 2 things happen. It was like pretty like normal loud talking. I'm like, oh my God. Well, 2 different things happened.
Did I miss something? It's your house you heard people talking?
My own house, my own basement, downstairs.
That's disconcerting.
Very disconcerting. And the light is on. So I discover, A, I left the light on. So that's on me.
Okay.
But B, what was happening was my computer had rebooted, like an update or whatever. And it pulled up the browser again, and Hulu was up. And for whatever reason, when it restarts, it starts the video going. And there was an episode of like Modern Family going on at full volume. And of course, like I listen to everything really loud, and I have really good speakers that you gave me. So it sounds really realistic down here. And I just about died. It's 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm just like, this is not a way to start a day. But that's why I'm a little sleepy, because of our good friend Charlie in the cat photo of the week.
Well, I'll say I'm also a little sleepy because of I shrunk little kitty. I'm sorry, Goth Cat. I didn't mean to do that. I'll remedy it some other time. I'm talking.
What was that voice?
Oh, that's the voice I use with cats. So it's been so awesome. The past few days, the cats who don't get along have been getting along. They've been laying together on the bed. They've been like all snuggly.
That's right. You sent a picture.
I've been sleeping in the office. Everything's fine. I'm a nomadic sleeper. I don't know if you're that way. My dad was this way. And like sometimes I can't sleep. So I start to like go different places in the apartment to try to like. Sure. And then if I find a spot where I sleep, I stay there. So I've been in the office a few days. I'm also trying to put my stink on the bed, so that will make sense in a minute or two. So anyway, the cats have been sleeping with me. It's been so cute. Everything has been so good and balanced.
Yeah.
Of course, tomorrow I'm driving 8 hours to pick up a new cat, which is going to throw everything into chaos. And I probably won't sleep for the next week. So that's the big news. Tomorrow, it's done. We're going to get. We believe we know which cat. I really want to sense the energy of the cats and select the proper cat for my environment.
That makes sense. Yeah, sure.
However, it seems like Jen's mom has made a pre-decision. She wants to keep all the cats except this one that she thinks will be perfect for us. So I don't know if that means...
The one shitty cat.
Yeah, that's my fear. Jen assures me...
Of course that's going to be. Of course it's the shitty one.
Jen assures me, she thinks it's the sweetest one. But I was like, it sounds like she's giving us the shit stick.
This cat's a dick.
Well,
100%.
I already have.
You've got this little asshole cat, probably has a poopy butt like Charlie.
Anyway, that's the news. We are 10 minutes in. That's cats.
That has been cats. Now let's talk to other flighted creatures in our segment. That was not a good transition.
That was maybe the worst ever.
But here in our filings and subpoenas, we are going to rise from the ashes of that tortured metaphor and speak to our moderator, Phoenix Cage. See, get it?
Okay.
Okay. Well, Phoenix has a couple of things to say. Interesting ones. So the first thing we're going to continue our discussion about platonic relationships. And he says, because we talked about it last week, because he called us out on judging Bobby and Helen's weird, well, what the show is trying to tell us to be a weird relationship, but Phoenix is defending as a healthy relationship. And he says, when I got my psych degree, it was with the intention to become a relationship therapist. What I have seen over and over are people who have really invested in their romantic relationship, even to the point of holding on to it when it's not working. And then, conversely, having a lot of casual friendships that they haven't invested in and wouldn't care if they lost. The belief that men and women can't be friends is not just a TV trope. It's based on American culture. When people try to form close friendships while in a relationship, it very often results in jealousy and even guilt. I'm really glad to hear that you guys don't undervalue friendships and don't mistake intimacy for romance. But you have to realize that you're more mindful about it than most. Maybe part of that comes from living in New York City where adults have roommates. That's true. You're always meeting new people, and it's harder to get caught up in a scarcity mentality around dating. I'm writing a book about nonconformist relationship types, and the first few chapters are just about carving out the concept of a close platonic relationship that doesn't currently exist within what most people's idea of friendship is. I think that's a really interesting point, possibly about living in an urban area where you do need roommates. I mean, you and I were roommates, and yeah, no, that's very true. Maybe he's right that most people aren't really as comfortable about this, but like some of my absolute closest, most intimate people in my life are my friends and female friends, and it's not about. It's not, there's no romantic part of it.
However, I will say, he's right in that, I look at my closest platonic relationships and it's because my best friend, Erica, who I lived with for almost 8 years. And, most people assumed we were married or a partnership,
right.
And we were not. We're just good friends. If I weren't married, I'd still live with her. We just are just great roommates and really great friends. But I had to defend that for so long because people had trouble understanding that relationship. Actually, one of the great people I would date, and it was one of the great signs of my wife that she was able to so understand it. And because she has many opposite sex friends as well. So and that was one really good white flag for me with my relationship with my wife, that she didn't even need convincing, or she didn't need to understand. She's like, oh, great. I will also say in our business, Keith, often as the straight guy in a cast, or there's a lot of baggage that comes with that. Now, there is a difference here. Now, whilst I agree with Phoenix in that the platonic relationships are healthy and can be very conducive to balancing other relationships in your life, I think that we have to. It behooves us to mention that I think society is at fault for some of that because of not society, men, because men force sex a lot and use sex as a weapon, as a leverage balancer often. And sometimes platonic relationships are just covers for men who are seeking more. I know that Phoenix mentions examples where it's the roles are reversed. I'm just saying I think it's more prevalent that men are the instigators in this scenario. So it makes sense that women are cautious or are leery, wary when wary. Choose a word. Above. Yeah. When it comes to the idea of platonic relationships.
I think that is 100% fair. And as somebody who has been like the buddy of the girl I really had a crush on, that's a difficult position to put the other person in. So yeah, it's complicated, and really only the people in the relationship are in a position to categorize it. In a position to really say what's happening there. And
I think Phoenix goes on to mention the idea of polyamory, and I think that now is a really great time for people who have lived or who are very like, I would say that my particular lifestyle is very heteronormative. But this is a great opportunity of many friends who are more comfortable coming out about their, as he says, how does he refer to the relationships?
Oh, I don't have that part of it up, but yeah, just like nonconformist. Yeah.
And I'm learning a lot about polyamory or people who have multiple relationship types and just kind of an open world. I've learned about compersion a few weeks ago, which is the idea of people in multiple relationships, and it's just the idea of setting jealousy aside to feel just like real happiness for someone, for a partner of yours or a person you know, that they are enjoying another experience, and like just really interesting things. It's a great time if you're willing to open your ears to like actually learn some things and to
well, and you know, what is healthy and what is happy is different for everybody.
Yeah.
And I agree with you that it's great that we are beginning to open our minds to whatever relationship is healthy and happy for anybody. And you know, if you feel healthy and happy in a monogamous heteronormative relationship, great. If you feel happy and healthy in any other type of relationship, then go to freaking town. And yeah, it's interesting, you know, and certainly as people with traditional backgrounds who have been raised in a more traditional setting, like you said, for us, I'll speak for myself, I do have to sort of like, all right, let's like polyamory, whatever it is. I'm like, what do I feel about that? Because I know my conditioning says X, but I'm going to have to re-examine and keep thinking about what is, you know, I'm not thinking about for myself, but just the concept itself is it's continuing to open your mind and expand however people, you know, are or live. And yeah, so I'm 100% on your board. I can't wait to read your book, Phoenix.
Yeah.
That will be really fascinating. Well, Phoenix continues. Now,
he always does.
Shifting from that to last episode, Man and Superman. And I think he feels similarly to what we do, but also helpful to have a guy with a psych degree to talk about this particular episode. And he says, this episode, the only thing more ridiculous than the idea that there be any question as to whether the facility would be 100% responsible is the way in which they characterized schizophrenia. Mike, you definitely had good reason to criticize. It does present in a lot of different ways, and experts believe that eventually we'll probably understand that it has many similar disorders thrown into one category, none of whom would ever look like this. He has no hallucinations, no voices, no paranoia. He thinks and speaks perfectly coherently. His only symptom is an unusually persistent and well-defined delusion. This guy could practically lead a normal life. All you'd have to do is give him a job at the Daily Planet and keep telling him that his cape is in the cleaners. What the hell happened here? Did someone submit a spec script? They forgot to have David E. Kelley read it first? Yes, I agreed. Yeah, I think you described it as a pitch, not a script. It's a log line, not an episode. So yes.
It's maybe even a more interesting episode if he isn't diagnosed with schizophrenia. He's just a dude who has just started, you know, like has a delusion. You know, like when you try to assign it to something, well, what I think my guess would be that's exactly what it was, right? It was exactly what I just said. And someone along the line was like, no, we have to associate it with something. And I think schizophrenia is sort of the catch-all for most people who are like, crazy people, schizophrenia.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Well, it was just like we said, it's a pitch, it's a spec script, it's a lazy telling of that story.
I want to close it down with, since we've talked about this so much, There is a great series of videos. I can't remember the YouTuber's name. I'm going to link it in the show notes. And he basically visits a bunch of his friends, he calls them, because he goes to visit and becomes friends with many people who have a variety of different conditions. And what he attempts to do, and it sometimes faces some criticism, but I found it pretty enlightening, is to just basically unmask many of these different conditions you don't hear about a lot, or you hear about but you don't get any detail in. And so one of the great ones, in fact, you know what, maybe rather than linking to his YouTube, I'll link to this TED Talk that one of these people he visited did, and it's basically living with schizophrenia. She's schizophrenic and has some very specific and scary delusions, but she just talks about how this has alienated her in her life, how people don't understand it. She tries to give some context, and it's a fascinating TED Talk. So I'm going to, and once again, she makes it point to highlight that her case is specific to her, right? It is not a catch-all of all different types of schizophrenia, but if you are interested in one person who fits the sort of normal idea of it, this is a great TED Talk. So we'll link that in the show notes so that we give a little bit more of a first-hand account of the condition, and we'll, I guess, close the chapter there. Though I suspect we might revisit it in our worst episodes.
Yes, it's possible. Well, you know, look, if you are looking for a nuanced discussion of mental health disorders and challenges that people face, don't look for it in late 90s television or this podcast, but at least listen to that TED Talk. Now, we have one more filing and subpoena because we heard from the boss. We heard from the boss who also talking your boss to my boss. And this is from CEO Jen, who wrote to my mother, "Ma Varney, you are my hero. Between that hike you do every day and that laugh into I still love you, that was the best. Also, Mike, this is proof that I actually do watch on YouTube."
So Keith, if my wife loves your mom, I love your mom now loves me, doesn't this put me in the most fucked up love triangle maybe of speaking of non-conformist relationships?
Pass.
I've got a ma nage à toi.
No.
No. Shall we continue? You know, if you would like to
beaming out of here.
If you would like to be a part of this conversation, beam yourself to the jury. You can do so by leaving a rating and review. And you can also write us an email or do any of the other stuff you see on the screen. You know, that kind of stuff.
Mike just bailed out of giving the info. outofpracticepodcast@gmail.com. Out of Practice Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. Okay, let us move forward mercifully into the time machine, or move back into the time machine. And we are talking about March 10th, the year 2002. And it is time to answer the question, Mike, what was going on
This day in the basement?
So what was happening?
Well, college was winding down, believe it or not. Like I said, it was the summer would be the end of her for me. So this was the last few months, and all kinds of crazy stuff was happening. I was breaking up with my girlfriend, and she was like not having it. But as Phoenix mentioned before, I'd stayed in it because, and that is never good. And I was also sort of like very confused because I thought I had feelings for my friend who was like one of my besties, and we were just trying to where to live, and like coming to the end of college, as you'll know, when you're a performer, it's even quadruple scary because you're like, oh my God, auditions and this lifestyle and like what's next. And interestingly, I will later this year, I guess, audition for a show that will bring me to Keith. So
that's right.
But my first job out of college is coming up. We'll discuss it. It was my first audition, believe it or not. I booked it.
Damn.
Yeah, well, it leads to... we'll get there. So that's it. It's just like end of year stuff coming up. And also, oh, hell, I'm going to have to pay for this at some point, was the other feeling that I remember having.
And
that's where I was. Keith, let's go to you. I know you've got some audio visual.
I do. Yeah. Well, so it's interesting because I guess it's not surprising that we were in a very similar place, actually, because I was finishing up college myself. I was only 2 months from graduation. And so I think this was winter break because I found in my emails that I was in Vermont this weekend, which I didn't know. But I was also breaking up with my long-term girlfriend, who we'd already sort of discussed it, that we were going to end it at this point. But now we were sending emails back and forth, trying to figure out how to sublet our apartment
So
for the rest of the summer. Well, because we were still together. And it was a very long and tortuous breakup, and just like you said with Phoenix, like stayed in it way longer than was healthy for either one of us. So we were doing that. But speaking of weird, unhealthy things to do after you've already pretty much decided to break up, so one day around this time, I get back from class or whatever. And back to our apartment, and I walk around, and out hops another kitten. Out hops Toad, who my girlfriend rescued. She was working in the Midtown Mall in Rochester. It doesn't exist anymore. That thing, that was some scary mall times. And somebody abandoned a box of kittens in the parking lot, in the parking garage, and she took home one of them, and it was Toad here, and that's our other cat, Frog. And Toad was the coolest guy in the world. He was amazing, an amazing cat, and I miss them both dearly. Toad is no longer with us. This was 20 years ago. I don't think Frog is with us anymore. Oof. Anyway,
yeah, with cats, you never know, man.
You never know. Well, I mean, it's 20 years ago. But he was such a great kitten. And so surprise, she didn't tell me this was going to happen. I just arrived back at home, and there's another cat. And I mean, come on, it's really cute. It's kind of really hard. It was difficult not to like him, but he was really awesome. And he spent the summer with me here too, because this coming summer, I took both cats to Vermont with me. And so they got to run around, and I'll have pictures of that, which is really fun. Before I moved to New York, and I keep almost saying her name. My ex took the cats back because she still had a year left at school, and then eventually took them for the rest of their lives, and now she lives in Brooklyn with her husband and their kid and their cats, and she seems great. So I'm very happy for her. But this was a very awkward time. Reading some of our emails going back and forth from this era gave me a little panic attack this morning. So that's also, I'm like,
it's funny. I'm thinking the same thing in my head, because I know this is around when I started the breakup, but I don't actually officially break up because she kept guilting me back in. And I don't officially break up with her until you and I are on the road. Because I remember the phone call on the road where I was like, no, it's done. Because I was trying to, get together with another girl.
Yes, I do remember that.
That was tough.
Wow. Woo. I can't believe we're so close. I was going to say to hooking up, but we're so close to arriving at the same space and time. All right. Well, that was going on in the basement. It's time to talk about...
It's time for the Out of Practice Podcast's This Day in the World. The greatest hits, the biggest movies, headlines from Vermont, essential sports updates.
I guess it's not happening.
For some inexplicable reason, the weather from 20 years ago. Now back to Keith and Mike.
The top song is Ain't It Funny? Murder Remix.
She really went a different way with this cover.
She really did. The top movie was The Time Machine, which you can see the poster right below here on the YouTube. I put it there, which was not a good movie, but I love time travel stuff so much. I think I've seen it more than once, but I did it. the Burlington Free Press talked about the Hockey Cats hit bottom. Now, of course, I've talked about it before, but the University of Vermont has a great Division I hockey team that I used to go to all the time. My parents have season tickets. But this was a disaster of a season for the Cats. They went 3-18-1 over the... What is happening?
Day late and $1 short.
Oh, there it is. Anyway, so it was not good hockey at that point. Are you done fiddling with things? Because we have to get to the important segment. Ready? Here. Wait.
Yeah, anytime you want.
Go.
It's time for sports.
The NHL was back from the Olympic break. The Leafs beat the Flyers 3-1 in Philly. Darcy Tucker had 2 goals for the Leafs, and Eric Desjardins had a shorthanded goal for the Flyers. The Bruins beat the Flames 3-2 in Boston, with Sergei Samsonov scoring the game winner in the 3rd. Future Bruin Mark Savard scored in the 2nd for the Flames.
All right.
Yeah, who doesn't like 19-year-old, just regular old hockey game stats? Woo!
Me?
Exciting. But you want to know what's even more exciting? Ready? Here we go.
I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
It's time to talk about the damn episode.
Oh, folks, we are talking about The Practice Season 6, Episode 15M, Premie Unplugged. And it was written by a new writer for The Practice, John Tinker, who has an Emmy for St. Elsewhere and all 4 other writing nominations, including LA Law, Chicago Hope, Judging Amy, and Chesapeake Shores. It was directed by veteran Dennis Smith, who last directed Unsuffer the Little Children, which means we only have one more thing to discuss before we watch the episode, and that is...
What is that supposed to mean?
I'm looking at the timer, Keith. Not nearly as bad as we thought.
Is this
Not nearly as bad as we thought.
No, we did all right.
What?
What?
What does Mike think's gonna happen?
You know, what if he would have drank the curdled milk? Then what would have happened?
Well, Keith, you made a face or a comment, or a face and a comment, when I said that this might be a better episode. And I want to use that in conjunction with the fact that I know that in the previously on, we revisited Helen's indecent encounter with that district attorney who tried to trade sexual favors for a settlement or a plea deal, and how basically Kittleson and everyone else was somehow said it was Helen's fault. And also that Bobby and the judge blowing his head off. So how do all those things combine? How could we make that storyline with Helen worse and sexy? That's a tough haul for me. So I'm going to say that we once again encounter the shitty DA who tried to get in her pants.
Seems likely, yes.
And in a twist that is revolting to us 20 years later, they end up tag teaming, working together, and potentially starting a romantic encounter, which would make me fucking barf.
Shit.
So that's my sexy prediction.
Wow. Bold, sir. Bold. All right. Well, if you would like to listen to us watch that episode and make snarky comments, it is time to hop over to your podcasting service of choice. For the rest of you, I don't know why you're not listening to that part, because that's really, the whole point of the freaking episode. But if not, fair. For the rest of you, we'll be back for the oopsies.
It's me!
Look at you! And it is Mike, baby!
Hold on.
Nailed it.
We failed. I guess we're gonna just have to keep it at this point, right?
I mean, obviously, we can't cut that.
You're right.
Well, it's appropriate.
What am I going for here?
You're going for the 2-shot.
Oh yeah, that's it. That's it. And I'm keeping the what? Oh, it's all happening.
Oh my good! What is? Everything is happening.
It is.
It's like all of our bumpers at the same time. Is that more TV happening?
I'm keeping up the what does Mike think's going to happen because I nailed it.
You did nail it. Why don't you tell us how you nailed it in a segment we call
2, 3, 4. Mike has 30 seconds to remember what just happened on the show.
Guys, I'm shook.
Segment.
Because the baby was shook. And then they spray the thing, and the lady gets beat up. But then Ellenor is like, "Oh, you were like so mean to me, but I don't forgive you. But I'm gonna bang you." And then I have feels about it. And then it turns out the mom shook the baby. But wait, the mom didn't shake the baby. The doctor's just an asshole. And here we are.
Yeah, you did it. Sort of.
That bumper is too long. Now I know why I didn't put the segment. Although I should have. I should have done it.
I can't find the original one because you have to send it to me again. Otherwise, we're just gonna hear.
2, 3, 4.
That's my voice memo that I left myself.
I love how you counted yourself in. It's just for you.
But like not in any sort of tempo. It's just random numbers. I said.
Yes. Now, could you tell us again what just happened?
It's gonna have to be real time. I forgot about it.
Oh, great! That's exciting.
The baby is shook. Ellenor bangs the asshole. The baby is sick.
Oh, okay. All right.
You see? Speaking of bookends, you weren't impressed with that one.
I'm always impressed. In my heart, I am always impressed. The baby is shook, okay?
The baby is shook. Ellenor bangs. This is the most NSFW haikoopsie of all time.
That's pretty fair. Well, you know what else is probably going to be NSFW? The very important award show we call...
Ladies and gentlemen, the Out of Practice podcast, in unofficial, unsolicited, unfactual association with Davey E. Kelly Productions, proudly present...
Oopsie.
The Oopsies! Celebrating excellence in acting good, lawyering good, guesting good, and being Tom Brady. Not to mention, this is where we rate the episode and stuff. Now, here are your hosts, Keith and Mike.
What the hell are the oopsies?
Keith, I meant to mention Phoenix. I don't know if he sent it to me personally or if she put it on the YouTube or not, but he also made a funny joke about that a better example of schizophrenia is not Superman from last episode, but the viewer who claimed to be Tom Brady, which I thought was pretty.
Is Tom Brady?
That's fair. Although he's been silent, but it is the off season. He's a Super Bowl champion after all.
That's true. He's still drunk on a boat somewhere, but it is Tom Brady. It's not some person who thinks they're Tom Brady. It is Tom Brady. Thank you very much. And speaking of things that are awesome, it is time to hand out our first Oopsie Award entitled Most... Oh no, wrong one.
I'm embarrassed. Well, Rebecca did such a great job of Plan Bing, and Eugene was so great too. But even though the poor mom wasn't even at fault, even though I then claimed she was, but I guess I still think that was such a boss plan B and they got the charges dropped one way or the other. So I'm going to say Rebecca Cricket.
Yeah, I think Rebecca did the best in courtroom lawyering, so I'm glad you did that. But I'm going to go splitsy because you want to know who actually turned this whole thing around? Lindsay, by discovering that the linchpin of the whole case, that it was an illness, and neither of them.
Yeah, and, it comes in the last 2 minutes though, and it's a Deus Machina, and I don't generally love those. I love it when you plant that seed earlier, but
yeah, but think about what Rebecca did. She did great lawyering for what we know, but basically the two lawyers who did any lawyering, Helen and Rebecca and Eugene, just destroyed these people and their marriage and their lives over something that neither one of them did anything wrong. So,
all right, Keith, I like it. My sister is FaceTime calling me right now.
Let's have her come on in.
It's my nephew, JJ. Hey, JJ.
What's up, JJ? He can't hear me.
Hey, JJ, what's up, brother?
We're going to go to Hobby Lobby and then to Walmart.
Oh, you shouldn't go to Hobby Lobby. It's we're not supposed to support them. Hey, JJ, you guys are on the podcast. Welcome. All right.
What's up?
I'm glad that was out of focus because I probably shouldn't put that on the internet, so that's good. All right, guys, I'm going to call you after the show, okay? What? I'm going to call you after the show.
Sounds great.
All right, bye. Yeah, so that was necessary.
What happens.
Yeah.
Also, why? Okay, there's weird haunting things happening here.
I'm hearing this squeaking. Is that a mouse running rampant?
It's a toy. It's a toy that I got for Charlie. It's like a bird in a little bird cage, and you hit it makes that noise. But it is sitting there on the floor, on the concrete floor, which does not move anywhere. And
I hear it though.
It just turned itself on twice.
Folks.
Nothing touched it. Nothing is within 15 feet of it. It's clearly haunted down here.
Also, I realized that what I thought were tea lights on the TV behind me to add some ambiance looks just like a McDonald's large fry.
I've been hungry all episode. I want them fries.
You've heard us talk about the wheels falling off before. I think that pales into comparison as to what's happening right now.
Look, we are always going to dig down below and find a new floor for the Out of Practice podcast.
But
even if the concrete floor,
all of those wheels falling off have meant that we're nice and limber for.
Yes. Wait. So are you sticking with Rebecca?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. Here we go, guys.
Already famous because you've been on TV, getting a paycheck, or the first entry on your IMDb. Way to go. But you're the best guest actor. You are the best guest actor. You are the best guest actor on the episode.
The wrong side.
Look, I had a 50-50 chance. Oh, wow, we're just not good. We need some French fries.
You know, I got to be honest. Brendan Fraser had a lot of acting to do. Both the parents of Baby Shake. It should be noted that was in no way Brendan Fraser. Nor was it.
You know it's really delicious? Dipping those fries into the Baby Shake.
Baby Shake as a combined verb is not very sympathetic, and I'm glad I put it on the internet.
We're horrible people.
But I actually think that, and we have some issues with the writing. I thought that Helen's, I guess, love of her life, or the what's the flip of that? The guy who's turns out Helen's Helen. Turns out
you realize that Helen and Ellenor, while roommates, we talk about how roommates aren't necessarily dating. They're also not exactly the same person.
So Ellenor's romantic interest, I know that chapter's now seems to be closed as they were just moving him to Scotland.
Yeah.
But he also had a lot of work to do this episode.
Scott Cohen.
And I thought he did a really fantastic job.
Yeah.
I imagine him looking at that script was also had a notepad of okay, I I have to bring my fucking A game. And I think he did. I thought he was excellent. You saw Mike. If you didn't listen to the episode, what the hell are you doing? But also, you'll hear me in real time recognize that he accomplished his. Oh my God, he accomplished his goal, which was become a sympathetic character somehow, and he did that at least for me. And that is hard to do. And I'm sure Keith has. We'll hear those thoughts articulated more. But he's my pick.
Yeah, no, I think you're entirely right. I think Scott Cohen did a great job. I also like to throw a shout out to Jennifer Crystal Foley as the wife. She did a tremendous job. But yeah, I mean, this storyline put so much weight on Cameron and Scott's shoulders to try to make this work that they just did a tremendous job with what they were given. And I have some thoughts about that, but I'm going to say more about that later. I'm always got to tease the finale. It's part of how this works. So congratulations to Scott Cohen with your Oopsie Award for Best Guest Actor. I'm trying to look for the applause. Where's the applause?
Woo woo!
There it is. All right. Nailed it. All right. Coming up next, it's time for the we've already announced it, but just for fun.
You killed your podiatrist or blew the case, but you let a single tear run down your face. You're the best actor on the show.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, don't take us being short about this for lack of full-throttled support, but we've lauded Cameron so many times on the show. I don't think we need to do it again. We also do it during the episode, so go listen. She's fucking incredible, and she wins all the oopsies.
Yeah, I mean, what else can you really say about what Cameron brings to this character and to this show? Like we do not have the vocabulary to describe it as well as. If we had the vocabulary range that she has emotional range, we could do it, but we don't. So congratulations once again. That's the wrong way.
It's going well.
And it's been a great episode, everybody. We'll see you next.
We're so close.
Oh, God. Well, Cameron, congratulations. You were better than us, which brings us to somebody who's worse than us.
The Tom Brady Award for being Tom Brady.
Keith, we learned this episode that you should always hold your baby properly, right? You got to be careful with the way you hold that baby. Sometimes, and now I've never had this experience, but sometimes you've won so many Lombardi trophies. You've held in victory so many Lombardi trophies that, oh my God, you're so used to it that you accidentally win an oopsie for the Tom Brady Award for being Tom Brady, going to Tom Brady holding a baby as if it were the Lombardi Trophy Tom Brady.
Okay, that took a turn. I thought we're gonna go like Michael Jackson off the balcony, or we're gonna be.
No. I'm conscious of what I make you put on the internet, Keith.
You're trying to prevent us from getting sued, but that ship is sailed.
What's that, listeners? Where have the Tom Brady Award for being Tom Brady's been? Or any of the oopsies for that matter on the Instagram? Well, folks, let me turn your attention to Keith Varney.
You know, I actually did a bunch of them, and I haven't posted them because reasons.
Yeah.
But yes, I'm going to post them. There's going to be a whole big like oopsie explosion on Instagram. I promise. I'm going to do it.
I don't want to see a Keith Varney oopsie explosion. I don't want to see any explosion that comes from Keith Varney. No explosion.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to announce.
Moving forward.
Spare tires this episode gets.
All right. Tee it up. Knock it down. Let's go.
OBS has quit on me as well. It's like, you know what? Fuck these guys. I got nothing.
You do not deserve smooth transitions between your cards.
This is actually really tough for me, Keith, because it's a lot. There are a lot of cracks in it, but it was such excellent work. That storyline with Cameron, which I know is riddled with inconsistency and I think maybe like every point I thought it made, it sort of undoes. But then at the same time, maybe it just makes the point and then introduces a little more complexity, as you said. You sort of, but that doesn't take away the fact that it's television. And like, I loved the tasty morsel of like Cameron getting to take her power back. But then she does kind of get that in the end, because she tells Helen, like, I made that decision. I slept with him because I was in control. And then when she has that scene with him where he tries to like do the hero thing where it's like, oh, come with me. And she's like, nah, you got to do you, man. I'm taking my power back. So maybe I got what I was looking for. I don't know. I really need to chew on it a little bit. But that doesn't take away with how excellent those actors made that story beat. The baby case, the twist worked out. I mean, I fell for it hook, line, and sinker. But it was muddied with the weird. It feels like there was more to that case that they just edited out because they were like, it's just too ridiculous. So just edit the whole case out. Just have him just start the beat when he comes to the office. It's to say it was out of place is severely understating it. It was wildly inappropriate because then it introduces a comedic beat in an episode that doesn't really need any comedy. And yet we get the second comedic whole scene with the babies and Bobby just cuz. Like, I get that sometimes 45 minutes of TV needs a little bit of levity, but like two ridiculous scenes. Like, we already pointed out that the A case with the doctor and with sort of the Deus Machina beat of it maybe could have been introduced earlier, or maybe the thing with the witness, they could have planted that seed with the witness in the hallway from the beginning and had us guessing. Like, those two scenes I would have much preferred rather than the two comedic beat scenes like that. It doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't know if that's on the writing. I don't know if that's on the edit. I don't know if that's on the director. I don't quite know. I also don't know how I feel about it. I would say you have to watch. This is one of the must-watched episodes just for the performance of from Cameron. And it's nice also to not have to look at any of the like inter-office drama or Bobby's drama with Lindsay anymore for an episode. Like, it was nice, and I'm glad that we got to revisit Ellenor's thing, because I felt like we just were so curt with it in the last episode. Also, they in the previously on, they brought up the judge killing himself. They introduced that into the A case, like that judge is going to be biased, but clearly he's not. But it feels weird that they introduce it, like, just to tie it to last episode for no payoff. There was a lot of, I'm going to use there's a lot of dangling chads in this episode, if you will, that I don't know if it's just sheer laziness or if they're introduced, if it's a terrible edit. It almost feels like a terrible edit. Like, they just it was like a 2-hour episode that they cut down and so much is missing that I'm just confused. Or it's just bad. But some of it, there was some redeeming qualities. Like I said, some of it's so grounded and you know, Ellenor got to take her power back, which is really effective. Ultimately, what did I rate last week? 6 point something. So it's not that bad. So I'm going to give it 7.18 spare tires.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think you brought up a lot of the points that I was going to bring up. I think this episode is hampered in the, you know, I'm going to save the Ellenor case for the end. First off, the case with the perfume sprayer thing, that was, I understand you needed to have like some sort of a case that happens there that gets resolved really quickly. So you have a reason to get them in the room together, but also it's not about the case. So you need to have something to have it disappear quickly. But that was a terrible version of that. Not because, like, you know, silly things happen. You want to make a comedic beat. Fine. I get it. Great. But there's no internal logic to anybody's behavior there. That case and the behavior of the lady who attacked the lady and the other lady, none of that made any sense. So we sort of like, oh, that's crazy. We forget to like, wait, so why would she do, it's absolutely just nonsense. So that hurt this episode. The lack of, it doesn't have to be smart, doesn't have to be complex, doesn't have to change the world because it has to be short, but it has to make sense. It has to have some sort of internal logic. So, Pasha, there's that. Your point about sort of continuing the Bobby Judge story and Eugene accusing the judge of being biased against him. Again, great. Like, I like continuing that story, but if you're going to continue that story. Don't reference it and then toss it out, which is what happened. They sort of like, wink, wink, we're acknowledging this from before, but we're not going to do anything with it. And which brings me to the Ellenor case. This whole episode feels like they brought in a chef to do something with the leftovers. Because most of these cases are sort of warmed over leftovers of inferior things.
You said this was a new writer?
A new writer.
So it is potential. David was like, here are the bullet points of shit I need cleaned up.
Yeah. Yeah. And it feels like that. And which is why the behavior of Mitchell Wheeler, the guy in love with Ellenor, is so inconsistent. That storyline, like, he was handed an apple and he went in and he put out a chicken. Like, those two, if you watch those two episodes back to back, it makes no sense. It is completely incongruous. Everybody's behaviors, intentions, mainly Mitchell's behaviors, intentions, like, it's all completely incongruous from one episode to the next. It's a different character. And I like this second episode's version of that story so much better. Mm-hmm. It's much more complex. It's much more nuanced. It's better performed. But if you actually, again, the internal logic of it, you've watched that. We just watched this episode. We watched this complex interaction between these two characters and this backstory and how he's dealing with shit. But then if you go back and watch what happened before, it's a different character. It doesn't make any sense. That
you bring up a really a very important point, because I mentioned Glow before. Professional wrestling is a great example of a narrative that often will completely change a character. Like, he's a good guy, now he's a bad guy, and sometimes it's just because one thing wasn't working, so they try a different way. But in that medium, as that you suspend your disbelief such that okay, cool, they're going a different way. This isn't that, though. This is a universe in which if the two things don't tie, then you need to show me why. You can't just be like, I've learned the error of my ways. But you are a total douche. They tried, but it's one of those things where they expect too much of an audience. That's not our job. Isn't to like fill in the blanks for you, man.
Well, they revealed his motivations in this, which I think were interesting and complex, and I get it. But once you've done the reveal of why he's doing something, it has to make sense with what he did. And what he did before has no bearing on that motivation. And it's like he's trying to rescue a thing that just can't be rescued. You've got to let it die. Like, it's just not going to work. So, look, if they had made part of the story that he was in this self-destructive spiral, and everything was sort of burning around him, and that caused him to do this weird self-destructive thing. Okay, sure. But that's not part of either story. Mm-hmm. So they didn't justify any of it. And I think had John Tinker written the first half of this too, I think it would have been an interesting story that I probably would have liked.
Yeah.
But he was handed a shit sandwich and tried to turn it into a souffle. And he's a very good writer, clearly. And, his dialogue and these emotional complexities, he did really well. The plotting part was not good. And so it's sort of a maddening episode, because some of it works so well and some of it is utter nonsense. and so like I don't know who to blame. Like you said, I don't know who to blame. It is the writing, in my opinion, to blame for.
Oh my God.
The Out of Practice podcast
happens every
in
time
unofficial, unsolicited.
I gotta go over the Stream Deck. I gotta fix some stuff, but I apologize. Is it the writing you said?
It is the writing to blame, in my opinion, but I don't know which writer to blame because John Tinker was handed a whole bunch of leftovers that were past their prime, and he did his best with it, and it ended up being inedible. Even though he is a talented chef, you know what I mean? So I don't know. That's a long and incoherent way of saying I don't know how to write this episode. I don't know how I feel about it. So I'm gonna give it sort of split the difference. You know, again, Cameron and the performances and the scenes that he wrote elevated a incoherent story. So 6.91.
Okay.
6.9.
What the hell is happening?
What are you?
Literally, they're all going.
It's an explosion, a video explosion.
Well, we should talk quickly about this guy. That is Chucky, the original scary, creepy doll, and I think that might be referencing the creepy doll that was fake breathing throughout the entirety of this episode.
You're right. Congratulations. Way to discover the creepy dolls back to back. Well, if you'd like to think about something cheerier than our podcast, like creepy dolls, creepy homicidal dogs, you can reach out and talk about it with us at outofpracticepodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on social media at Out of Practice on Facebook and Instagram. While you're there, do us a favor. Join the jury. Leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or any other service of your choice. Join these fine, fine people. Speaking of fine, fine people, this episode of the Out of Practice podcast is brought to you by our founding sponsors, Jorge Navoa, Cloud Lover 69, Leanne Wrights, Jennifer Masanova, and Kari Kuhn.
Did you know that you can get your name on that sweet, sweet graphic? All you have to do is become a financial contributor to the show, which you can do by clicking one of the two show notes by leaving a one-time donation of any amount you choose, or a sustaining membership, which gets you all kinds of perks, which I'm not going to ruin by telling you.
Wait, there are perks?
There are no perks.
There are no perks.
You're experiencing the perks. You can also tell a friend to check out our show or check out any of our other podcasts. In the meantime, Keith, I want to take those laser sounds and shake the living hell out of them.
Laser sounds.